All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trading Bitcoin with your host, Tone Vays. We've moved out of the bunker and we're going to have some nicer backgrounds going forward. It is time to start living life. I am about to start traveling again because I don't give a shit anymore. As you guys have seen from my Twitter, between the election insanity and the continued lockdowns for COVID, which more and more science is proving only makes things worse. I'm just going to start traveling to places that don't give a shit about COVID. So if you are U.S. state or country is open to humans entering and walking around the streets, there's a chance I'm going to start traveling again because otherwise I'm going to go insane. So without further ado, let's go and look at the price of Bitcoin. Yeah, I don't know why Zoom is once again screwing me up. Let me make sure I'm not doxing anything because I can't share an application. I have to share a screen, which is dangerous in other ways, but let's do it. Okay, so this is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for this MRI arrow. This MRI arrow tells me that, this MRI arrow tells me that we are potentially topping on a weekly scale, and that's important. Now, this arrow shows up on this candle. However, the MRI top, one of these red arrows or green arrows, in this case, it would have to be a red arrow, could only come, that arrow can only come, on the next candle, not current candle. So it has to be on the next candle, okay? So right here, that's just a warning. Ideally, I really want the price on current candle or next candle to make a new swing high. And I actually believe that it will. It's not going to take very far to make a new high. All we need is $100 more in the price of Bitcoin. It can actually happen while I'm streaming. So we're going to get the new high. I've been pretty bullish. I'll show you guys where I got back into the Bitcoin trade as a swing trade, because I'm a swing trader. I'm not a day trader. And I am looking for a top sometime this month. There is a chance it can be next month, early next month, but most likely I am looking for a top later this month. I would expect that top to be in the $17,000 to $18,000 range, but I wouldn't rule out a clean double top with the all-time high that breaks 19,000. Not ruling it out, but right now the weekly chart is still bullish. These are all bullish candles. This is now this is now 7 candles in a row that closed higher than they opened. I can't even remember the last time this occurred. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. And that was only 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we've had 7. We had 7 weeks of consecutive bullish candles coming off the lows of this year. But that was a little bit different because we had just crashed. We did not crash this time. So this is a slightly different situation. And then you have to go back to here to see if there were ever 7 or 8 candles in a row. Well, that's not it. And this is not it. That's a maybe, that's a half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half. And that's clearly a red candle. And here we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we topped right there. So these are starting to look kind of similar, but there is one big difference. There's a big difference. See, right here, we broke out above the prior swing high. So here's the good news. I don't believe we are in this zone. If anything, we are in this zone here. This, I know a lot of people think that it's like early 2016, but now that I'm looking at these charts, to me, the current environment looks more like late 2016 instead of early 2016 for a couple of reasons. Now, we did have a double MRI top here. We were rising for approximately 18 consecutive weeks, and we really accelerated on the back end of that. The reason why this stretch here is very interesting to me, it's interesting for two reasons. One, we had an exponential rise here. Well, we also had one here, but this had a lot to do with a Ponzi scheme called Triple M. Though we did have a lot to do with a Ponzi scheme called Plus Token last year as well. But this breakout here was pretty interesting. And then we had a nice long correction. Also, the halving took place here in between. But what interests me about this one is that this MRI top, this second consecutive MRI top, took place at approximately the prior all-time high, slightly lower. The prior all-time high was around 1200, and the prior all-time high weekly close was around 950. And then this final push took it to as high as 1,000, which is approximately where we closed, and it came up 20% shy of the all-time high, and then we pulled back for, I believe, a 30% correction. The correction only lasted a few weeks, but it was a 26% correction. And that interests me because if you look at the modern situation, if I go back here and I treat this prior run-up as the getting out of the bear, if I treat this original run-up as like that, you get out of your low bear markets. So if I compare this to, say, that bottom in 2018, and then we compare this top to that $14,000 top, we broke the $14,000 top with 3 weeks to go before an MRI top. And that is very similar to what we have here. We have broken the prior high that got us, the high that was made when we got out of the lowest price. I believe the bear market finally ended here, which is similar to the low price, but that's the low price. And we're breaking that prior swing high, the prior multi-year swing high, with a few candles to go before an MRI top. And this is where I have similarity. And now, off of this top that I'm expecting sometime this November, I would expect a 20 to 30% correction from that top, the way it happened back in late 2016. So if, let's say, we top at 1750, let's say we top at 1750, what would a 26% correction look like? A 26% correction look like down to 13,000, okay? Like that. And that is very, very reasonable for multiple reasons. First of all, it gets us back to a rising moving average, and it gets us back to the vicinity of the last swing high we had. It also gets us in this range of the 2019 swing high, and without even going below the close of those candles. This would be an incredibly healthy correction to correct 25% off the high. Now, if this high comes in higher, if this guy comes in, say, at 18,000, now the correction is only to 13.5. Personally, I would like to see the correction closer to 10.5. That is my perfect correction. My perfect correction would be to 12,000 to 12.5 range, because that corrects, backtests the last swing high. There is a more bullish version. That's if we go to, say, 18.5 or even 19,000 over the next 3 weeks, and we top at, let's say, just above 19 or just below 19, a 25% correction now takes us to 14. Well, let's hope we top a little bit under 19. And now a 25% correction takes us perfectly into the swing high of 2019. Here's what I'm saying. I know this was a winded discussion. Whenever this tops, it absolutely has to correct to at least this number. I would be very concerned for the next decade if we don't at least correct to 14,000. The way I have been concerned for 5 years that we never properly backtested the $1,300 zone. We've never came back to it. This is how I trade. You trade how you like to trade. Here's how I trade from a bigger picture perspective. The only way for me to completely believe that we will never go to 1,300 ever again, is to break this high. The break of the 20,000 is the only thing that convinces me that we will never, ever hit 1,300 again unless Bitcoin dies. Okay? That is, I've always thought this, always. Before Bitcoin existed, this is my logic in trading. Now, do I short Bitcoin right now expecting 1,300? No, of course not. That's stupid. But only after breaking the $20,000 high would I then never consider 1,300 as a potential to hedge against. Okay? Now, the same exact logic was applied when, see, this one came back. This was the prior bubble top, and we certainly broke it when we came down to 150 bucks. However, the bubble top, and you don't see it here, so I have to go to the monthly chart. This is, this is the index. Okay, but it's not in log form. So let's just go to the monthly chart. So the same exact logic that I'm applying to 1,300 was applied to $30. When this drop only went to 45, I remember it going to 45 on Mt. Gox, which was the dominant exchange at the time. When this drop only came to 45, it came up a little bit short of $30 or $32, whatever that top was. Came up $10 shy. And because it came up $10 shy, I was hedging for this drop until we broke the prior highs. Now, I'm comfortable with the break on the closing basis, so I didn't need to break the 250 high. I just needed a weekly close, and I was comfortable. So we are almost at a point, like on a monthly close. What was the highest closing monthly high? 13,899. And right now we're at 15. So we're about to have a new high monthly close. Ideally, I'd want it on a weekly basis, not monthly basis. So on a weekly basis, I would need a close. What is this? This is the weekly chart, and that's the all-time high on a weekly chart. So on a weekly chart, I would need a close above 19,000 on a weekly scale. There it is. Okay. So a close above 19,000 on a weekly scale is the official Tone Vays mathematical TA that says you no longer have to concern your brain with 1300. Now, I'm already not concerned with 1300. That pretty much went out the window even last year. That 1300 ain't happening. Even when we were crashing to here, I was already saying, hey, 2800 and that's it. And that's as low as we should be going because so much time has gone by. But if ignoring time, and I also know obviously about the halving has already happened or was about to happen. So I understand the fundamentals of Bitcoin very well. But in all assets that I trade, gold is no different. If I go to gold, it's always the same thing. $800 gold price has always been a concern for me until we break the next swing high. So until we had broken this all-time high, the prior major high of $875 was always my potential target to hedge against. And I was very surprised that we did not touch 875 when gold was coming down back in 2015. I felt that it should have back tested that, but it came up just a little bit shy, which is okay. I became bullish at 1300 when we broke this Fibonacci line. And that's when the probability of 875 is very, very small. And once we have broken the all-time high, the probability of 875 is almost non-existent at this point, probably ever, unless gold collapses. How can gold collapse? Well, I don't know. There's not that much gold on the planet. So if a meteor made of gold happens to crash and it doesn't destroy all life on Earth, gold kind of probably becomes worthless because now there's too much of it. So yes, can gold, what is the probability of that? Probably a little bit lower than the probability of Bitcoin dying, but they're both pretty low. So now let's get back to Bitcoin. Now that I've explained that part, I do want a healthy correction. And if that correction, so here's how I got on that tangent. What I'm saying is, at this point, if there is never a correction that goes back to at least 14,000 or whatever this top was, 13, what's the high? 13,880. If at no point do we go back down and touch 13,880, 13,880 is going to be the Tone Vays concern for the next year and a half, but not for the next 5 years. If we blow past 20,000, we then don't need to correct to 14. If we blow past 14,000, if we double, let's say 14,000, or at least go up 50% above 14,000. So if we go to 30,000, sorry, 20,000. If we go to 30,000, I would then need a pullback to 20,000. Otherwise, that is going to be my concern for potentially a decade, because this would always be a concern. If we go to 30,000 and don't come back to touch 20, and then we go to 200,000 or 250,000, I will be concerned that 20,000 is still a very viable option until like another halving event and stuff. All right, so weekly chart, MRI warning. You still have a week in the warning, and as long as this candle stays bullish, next week is an MRI top. And I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna get out. So right here, so when did I get back into my trade? I got back into my trade when we were breaking this triangle. But look what's happening right now. We are once again breaking the prior swing high after a correction. So I'm actually even comfortable. I'm not going to say I'm comfortable adding to my position. As you can see on a daily scale, there is definitely room, but on a weekly scale, I'm already getting a warning. So because it's the first day of a 7-day candle with the MRI top coming next week, I'm actually comfortable adding to my position here, but I will be looking to take my profit later this week or next week. I am looking to take my profit in the $17,000 to $18,000 zone. But for the next week to 2 weeks, I am still bullish, and the charts are bullish, both daily and weekly. I want to look at the funding rate. It is still completely in favor of the bulls, or at least it's not showing any critical levels. I want to look at the funding rate first. See here, the funding rate is already starting to favor the bears. This is the 1-hour chart, which is not a big deal. The 4-hour chart is also starting to favor the bears. So you want to be a little bit careful here, but the daily and weekly are still favoring the bulls. Here's the 4-hour chart. The 4-hour chart is still pretty bullish. We have not broken the prior swing high, but we are close. We are close. I don't like it I don't like how far it went down. Would have liked it if we, went half as deep, because I think it could get exhausted as this line is being broken. But if the S&P 500 is rallying, and it was and now isn't, but it's still a new all-time high for the S&P, not on the intraday basis, but on a closing basis, and that makes me bullish. I never trade the candle following an MRI top. So no matter how bullish I am on this candle, I will never buy the S&P. But the next candle being bullish potentially gets me back long the S&P. Right now, I am still looking at a top. And the reason why I never buy the candle after an MRI top is because I don't want to end up in a bad position at the top of this candle. So I stay away. Okay. I already talked about gold. Well, I'll talk about gold on a big scale. How about the small scale? This is weekly gold. Let's look at daily gold. That's monthly gold, actually. Daily gold is in a no trade zone as long as it stays between this red line and the this black line, which is at 1920 and above 1860. I am in a no trade zone with gold, so no comment. Bitcoin dominance is actually on an MRI top, and Bitcoin dominance actually respects the MRI, as we have seen. Here's an MRI buy of Bitcoin sell shitcoins. Here's a MRI top that says, hey, sell Bitcoin, maybe buy shitcoins. I wouldn't do it. But speaking of shitcoins, we have now spent 2 weeks in a new low area of Bcash. They are going through their block restructuring and hard fork. So Bitcoin ABC, which has very little hash power, is finding blocks. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have already found 6 blocks. Now, I don't know how many blocks they need to find in order to reset their difficulty, but eventually they will find their 10 blocks or 20 blocks or whatever block number it is. Once they get their block number, the difficulty will be reset, and these blocks, which will be emptier than these blocks, could potentially be found even faster, and it may never catch up to the other chain, but it will be a viable chain with a developer that people know. And a developer is critical to the survival of your shitcoin. There's 2 things that are, he's not as critical. So the survival of your shitcoin really depends on the marketing of that shitcoin. But the second most important part of your shitcoin is the developer of that shitcoin. Mining also matters. No one's going to really care. I mean, these guys are probably malicious enough to 51% attack this side, maybe. But hey, you get another shitcoin fork. Enjoy. Cash out your 8 cents. Go buy a cup of coffee. GBTC premium is rising. It's over at 18%. But I'm already back in. So I'm comfortable with my position as is. And I will take my profit sometime later this week or next week. That's it. We can glance at the 1 hour chart. And the 1 hour chart is about to break that prior swing high, which would make it bullish. I'm waiting for the MRI to make sure we're not topping here, and we won't, because we would have reset the MRI with this big drop hour early this morning, 6 a.m. New York time, I believe. My computer is set to, there it is. Got a couple of green stars right here. I am bullish on the hourly chart. I am bullish on the 4 hour chart. I am bullish on the daily chart. And I am throwing, oh, I shouldn't be changing this one. And I'm throwing up a caution flag. That's the daily chart. I'm bullish. And I'm throwing up a caution flag on the weekly chart. I see a super chat from John. Thank you, John. What about the size of the wick for the Bitcoin pullback? If we wick to 10,000 or enter price target here, okay, is that better or worse than just to a moving average? Okay, good question. Well, you didn't provide the scale, so I'm going to use daily and weekly. On a daily scale, if we wick to 10,000, you would wick to a 128-day moving average. And here's the thing. I don't like 10,000 as a support point because of a double bottom. Unless you wick to 10,000, but close above, say, 1150 or 12,000 ideally. That's fine. That's actually perfect. That's great. That would be very, very bullish. If we can wick, well, not from here. You don't want to wick from here. Like if Bitcoin decides, if like next, this is a weekly chart. Sorry, it's the weekly chart. This is the 50-week moving average. My bad, guys. 50-week moving average. If we wick in 1 week down to 10,000 and close the week above 12,000, that's not going to be very comforting. That's going to be very scary. That's not going to be very bullish. But if we, let's say, go down for the next 3 to 4 weeks, if we repeat, say, this situation, you see how we dropped for a week and we were neutral for a week, and then we had a bigger drop for a week, and then we had a smaller drop for a week, and then we had a catastrophe candle. So if we have, some down cycles, let's say we have like a bearish 6 weeks that takes the price down to say 13,500 over the next 5 weeks. And then we have a single catastrophe candle that goes from 13,000 down to 10,000 and then back to 12,000 within the week. That would be very bullish. Very, very, very bullish. And I think we would go to 20,000 from that very quickly, similar to what happened in COVID. So on a daily scale, you can just apply that logic to the daily scale as well. So here's the daily scale. I don't want to see a crazy day that takes us down. So I'd rather see a more like reasonable drop, something like this. This is what took place in August, where we topped and then we went down and then we went up and made a lower high. And then we had 2 bad days, consolidated and went up. So if we have one of these bad days, it's okay. But look at this bad day. This bad day, and it didn't even pull back. This bad day was a 12.5% day. I don't mind a bad 12.5% day. So here is the 12.5% day tomorrow would take us down to only 14,300. Okay. And a 14.5% day from say 14,000 area. that would take us down to 12. So if you want to wick down into 10K, I would rather see that from the $13,000 area. From the $13,000 area, you know, if we wick all the way down into 10,000, that's like a little bit over 20% in one day. As long as we pull back at least half that much by end of day, that becomes very bullish. But no, if something happens tomorrow and the price wicks down to 10K and then comes, which is like a 40% in one day down, and then comes back to 12,000 or higher, I'm not going to be very comfy. I'm not going to be very comfy with that. I won't. All right, another super chat. Thank you, David. If Trump is declared the legal winner of the US election, what impact could that have on the price of Bitcoin in the short term? So, huge. If Trump ends up winning the election, I think it's huge for Bitcoin. I think it would rally Bitcoin. And the reason why I think it would rally Bitcoin, not because Trump got elected, and a lot of people are not going to want to hear this. Maybe I should stop the screen share. Maybe this will be a short 2-minute video. Real quick. Oh, hey, can I get some help on something? I'm still like, only because I have a bet. And so there are 50 senators have been elected on the GOP side for the Republicans and 48 for the Democrats. There are 2 senators yet to be elected. One of them is in Georgia. Where is the second one? Can someone please answer that? Like, I have absolutely no idea, and Google does not make this easy. Like, where is the second missing senator to be elected? I don't get it. Like, I can't find it. So let me know, like, what state is still missing a senator? Georgia is still going for a runoff. I don't know when they're going to vote. I have no idea. But I know one senator from Georgia is yet to be elected. But where the hell is the other one? Or are they both in Georgia? Are both missing senators Georgian senators? Both in Georgia. Okay. So there are so there's still 2 elections left in Georgia? Is there like 2 runoffs still to go? Two runoffs in Georgia. Okay. Jesus Christ. All right. All right. That answers that question. Look, do I think Biden is going to be the president inaugurated? Yes, I do. Do I think Biden deserves to be inaugurated as president? No, I don't. Do I think Trump's chances of being president are good? No, they're terrible. But is it possible for Trump to still be president next 4 years? Yeah, it absolutely is. And anyone that thinks that it's impossible for Trump to be president the next 4 years is putting their head in the sand and is setting them up to cause civil unrest. So here is where I'm going to come off screen share. And if you guys want to support, check out the affiliate page or purchase an on-demand video on TA or risk, or hopefully both. And if you want a free tutorial on trading, check out Learn Trading. All right, now I can stop the screen share. And the question is a very good question. What do you think happens to Bitcoin if Trump is inaugurated into office? I believe that the value of Bitcoin would rise substantially because there would be huge demand for Bitcoin. But not because Trump gets elected. So this is where the answer to the question gets very tricky. I believe there would be huge demand for Bitcoin because the disappointed Democrats and Biden supporters would take to the streets, and not in a peaceful way. Like the Trump rallies, the Trump support rallies were very peaceful until Antifa and the BLM movement started, kicking and hurting even people in wheelchairs. Okay, I've seen the videos. So the Trump support protests are peaceful. Well, the support protests are usually peaceful. The Biden support protests were also peaceful when media decided to declare the election for Biden. The people that tell you to wear masks all the time and social distance no longer give a fuck because their guy won. So, but those protests were certainly peaceful. However, and this is the big deal, if by some miracle, by some small miracle, not a big miracle, I think Trump's chances, if I go back to the prediction site, the prediction sites are still saying that there's a 90% chance that Biden is your president and a 10% chance that Trump is your president. It's in a 10 to 15 range. I think Trump has a 25 to 33% chance to be your president, or to be the United States president for the next 4 years. Those are my personal probabilities. Okay, I actually believe in the court system. So I believe there's a 25 to 33% chance Trump is your president. If that happens, the protests will not be peaceful. The protests from the other side, the Democratic protests, Antifa, BLM, Biden supporters, diehard socialists, closet communists, they're all coming out, and they're all going to protest that their guy should have won. And those protests are going to be very, very violent. And because of those violent protests that I am anticipating in the event of a Trump win, will massively increase the price of Bitcoin, because people are going to be scared and they're going to want to hide their money, because the people that will be in the streets protesting for Biden, these are the people that believe what's yours is theirs. And the best way to protect what's yours is in your head, because Bitcoin is the only asset that lets you do that. So I personally believe that the value of Bitcoin would skyrocket on the fear that there is massive violence incoming to US streets. Okay, so I hope that answer makes sense. Now, if Biden remains president, or, well, whoa, I didn't say that. Please don't take that out of context. Biden is not your president yet. The Electoral College has not yet decided on the president. That was a horrible choice of words. If Biden is declared president by the Electoral College, I believe on January 6th, in that case, I believe Bitcoin also goes up because of the Democratic presidency and the increase in taxes and just all this other stuff. Universal basic income could be coming. So more inflation, more money printing. I expect the Democrats to print way more money than the Republicans did, unless the Republican Senate can stop them, because the House is for the Democrats. So Bitcoin will go up, but for different reasons. Either way, it's going up. This is Bitcoin's time. The bear market ended at a perfect freaking time. The bear market ended as the political environment in America is literally turning to shit, going down the toilet with this election and the and Trump trying to prove how Biden cheated. Because you see, the US has a huge dilemma right now. It's a huge dilemma. Trump is bringing evidence of fraud. And now the courts have to decide whether that fraud is going to be enough evidence to redo the recount that will most likely give Trump the presidency. So the court has to make one of two choices. Either they don't allow Trump to do a recount and Biden is your president, in which case Trump will spend the rest of his life with his own media channels, going after the Democrats. I mean, Trump could be the next Snowden, which honestly, if there's anything Trump can do when he leaves on his last day in office, on Trump's last day in office, he has to pardon two people. He has to pardon two people. He has to pardon Edward Snowden and Julian Assange. He has to pardon those two people. If Trump pardons those two people, and then not only does he pardon them, he should hire them for his news network and start exposing all the corruption in US politics, because he did not get a chance to drain the swamp. He will be seen as the biggest anti-American there is at that point, which is kind of insane because he's probably one of the most American, most patriotic people that's been elected, because that's basically his life. And so he has to pardon them and he has to hire them to keep doing what they're doing. So Trump is gonna make it messy. And not only that, half the country, or slightly more than half the country that voted for Trump, remember, Trump got 70 million votes, and I believe those votes are fully legitimate. That's a lot of votes. And if Trump actually does publicly share the evidence, because everyone on Twitter keeps saying, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Whether Trump wins or loses in court, all that evidence is going to be in the public domain. That's when you see the evidence. On January 10th, you will see all the evidence, unless they bury the evidence with a Trump win under the non-disclosure. Okay, we're not going to show all the evidence to the public, because then they may be very, very upset, even more upset. But you have to show that evidence to the public. Otherwise, why would Trump get reelected based on evidence that the public doesn't see, and now it looks fishy? So everyone's going to see the evidence. So there's going to be 70 million people that voted for Trump. They're going to be very, very upset that the other side cheated and still won, if they believe the evidence that's going to come out, because the evidence will come out. And now half the country is going to be mad that the president was illegitimately elected. Now, I personally believe that the left is always more violent than the right. Maybe you can blame that on my early life in communist Russia. Maybe it's all of the stories that I heard of Mao's China. What happened in countries like Cambodia and recently Venezuela and others, Cuba. So to me, the left is always more violent than the right. So, and because of that, I don't listen to Alex Jones. I've actually never seen a full episode of Alex Jones, ever. I would say if you add up all the Alex Jones I have ever seen in my life cumulatively, it may add up to 2 to 3 hours of how much Alex Jones I've seen in my entire life combined. You guys assume too much. You guys assume that I can't think for myself and I have to listen to someone else. So, where was I going with this? Hey guys, it's a political talk now. The TA is over, so stick around if you like, but you can get going. So this does relate to Bitcoin though. So if Trump gets reelected and the evidence of fraud comes out, how is the world and Americans going to perceive half the country? because not only was there fraud, there was the and again, this is the assumption that fraud claims get Trump reelected. So if the fraud claims get Trump reelected, and by the way, whether there was fraud or wasn't fraud, that's my opinion. I believe there was, but that's an opinion. The courts are going to decide whether there was or wasn't. And after the courts decide whether there was fraud or wasn't fraud, that evidence would be in the public domain. And now the public can decide whether for themselves, whether there was or wasn't fraud. Like, I'm waiting until the evidence gets released on January 10th after the president is in office to then evaluate the evidence to the best of my ability, how much fraud there was, from 0 to I don't know, Jeb McCaleb or John McAfee, right? Like, that's your bar right there. You know, maybe Craig Wright. You know, that's your bar. Like the amount of fraud that took place, or Ripple. So now let's assume that Trump does not win the court case based on the evidence he presented. That evidence still goes into the public domain. And now Biden is your president, but all this evidence is out there for the public to actually evaluate whether Biden is a legitimate president or not. And imagine a situation where Biden is your president, but there is so much evidence out there that says he became president because of the fraud. How does that make the rest of the country feel? How does that give confidence to America? How does that give confidence to the American economy, assuming there is an American economy with round 2 of lockdowns? How does that give confidence to the US dollar? Look, all US political outcomes are pointing to a massive, massive run up in the price of Bitcoin. Because if you don't trust the politics of your country, if you don't trust the economy of your country, if you start to lose confidence in the currency of your country, where do you put your money? You put it in Bitcoin. And I think there'll be a mass exodus of people out of America for no other reason than I don't trust the US political system anymore. If enough people think that America is now going to just cheat to create a president, why live here? Why live in the US? So there'll be a mass exodus of people. And one of the problems with being a global person is banking, is money. Like, if you want to leave the US, you won't have access to the US banking system. But you have businesses, you have companies, you want to pay people. And Bitcoin solves that problem for you. If you're a stateless person, if you follow that 5 flag theory, you know, you go get a passport in some country and you don't live in that country, you live in another country. I'm not going to name countries here, but you get your passport from country X. You now go to live in country Y. You are now tax-free because you're just a tourist in country Y. Your passport is country X. Obviously, the passport that you get does not tax you on your out of country income. But if your income is on the internet, which is going to be 90% of all jobs, you don't even need a bank. You can just use Bitcoin as your bank. So the more I think about this stuff, the more bullish I am. And the more these $100,000 target, $200,000 target, like no target at all, the more bullish Bitcoin becomes, and the bigger the clown show of who is the president in the United States, the more it drives people not only out of the country, but also into Bitcoin. It's illegal to think for yourself. Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. Oh, it's certainly like contracts your social circle, my social circle is now like non-existent. Non-existent. I'm about to start traveling, and I'm giving you guys a heads up right now. I'm happy to meet up with anyone on my travels, but there'll be no masks involved. Like it'll be like COVID doesn't exist. Those that are willing to hang out in a world where COVID is not rotting their brain are welcome to come and hang out wherever I am. Yeah, we're gonna. I think that bunker was depressing me even more. Seeing it on every stream, this is so much better. I got a couple of more books over there. Well, we're gonna add a couple of things. We're gonna add some cool stuff to the Tone Vays Citadel as we go along. We'll put some little Easter eggs. You know, you can probably spot some in the fire. I can't go to Europe. I'm sorry. Because I don't have a European passport yet, I'm not allowed in Europe. Not even Sweden. I mean, Sweden doesn't do the mask stuff. They don't do insanity, but they're following the EU regulation on tourism. So I can't go to Europe. Yeah, so someone, if I go to my Twitter, like I gotta fact check something. So if I go to my Twitter without doxing anything. I believe I'm on screen share now. Right. So here, if I go on Twitter, a couple of things. So first of all, this was a great video. Shout out to Pedopack. Thanks for this video, man. I think I met Tom Woods at PorcFest. He was a speaker there as well. I'll probably talk to him a little more. I wasn't too familiar with his work. Great video. I'm probably going to tweet it out. It's only 20 minutes, and if you watch it on 1.5x speed, it's only like 12 minutes. Great video. But this was another funny one. So I need to fact check this. So is this what it actually says on the masks that most people wear? This product is an ear loop mask. This product is not a respirator and will not provide any protection against COVID or other viruses or contaminants. So I need to fact check this. It's possible that 90% of the people that are wearing masks, this is what it says on their mask package, that this is fucking useless to prevent COVID. And I would not be surprised, because this is how brainwashed people are. If Bitcoin drops to 600, I probably would soil my pants on live YouTube. I would not agree with, I would fully agree with that statement. Yes. Cloth masks. Oh, this is what I wear. I wear one of those neck. So when I have to walk through a restaurant because I do want to eat, I have one of those like neck bandanas, and then you just like raise it up. So that's what a cloth does. So I have a cloth mask. Let me see. I haven't read this yet. Cloth masks are used to slow the spread of COVID-19, offer little protection against wildfire smoke. They do not catch small particles. Okay, so I'm not sure what this is. Okay, so that has nothing to do with COVID. Okay. I don't know how much I trust CDC anymore. All right. Anyway, those are my views. I should send out a tweet. Maybe I can try to put into one like 250 character tweet my views on COVID, politics, environment, and economics all in one tweet, just to make sure everybody knows. Yeah, but this Tom Woods video is great. I'm gonna retweet this. It's just too good. So stop screen share. All right, that's all I got. I can glance at your live chat. People are so brainwashed by fear and media. I know, and it's bad. Like, I have friends I'm probably never I might never speak to again because of they just like made it worse. Thoughts on the Great Reset? No, not really. I don't know what a Great Reset is. Yeah, but I didn't talk to a motorist. I probably should have. I didn't talk to him because like he's supposed to be like important and famous, and I didn't really know who he was. Like I wouldn't recognize him. So like I'm not a fan of walking up to like popular, important people that I'm supposed to know, but I have no idea what they've done. So I just don't like bother. Like I have to know the person. So I didn't like. I might have spoken to him a little bit, but I really need to be more familiar with his work if I'm going to end up in a conversation, because otherwise I look like an idiot. The Great Reset is basically the government forgiving everyone's debt and starting over. Some people think crypto or Bitcoin will take money's place. Well, that's not fair, right? It's not fair to forgive people's debt because I have no debt. I have very little debt, right? So it's not fair to me that there are people that are massively in debt because they went into debt voluntarily, and people like myself are not in debt because we lived a responsible life. So how is that fair to me? How is that fair to responsible people? And it's not that simple. Like, what does that mean? That means that suddenly I own this apartment behind me, even though I just bought it for whatever. Well, an apartment like this is probably worth $100 million, which obviously I can't afford. But so if I bought this apartment and I owe $80 million to the bank, the Great Reset allows me to just keep it for free. Like, people haven't thought this shit through. Yeah, those are the views. You will own nothing and you will be more happy. Right. This is this is your communist propaganda right there. Anyone that says you will own nothing and be more happy, they want to basically enslave you into a life of communism. And I wish we had a time machine so you can go to Mao's China or Stalin's Russia to understand what that means, that you own nothing but are happier. UBI would be the greatest thing for Bitcoin. So here's the problem with UBI. I actually wouldn't have a problem with UBI. If here's how I approve of UBI. I would approve of UBI is if whichever politician comes out and says, we will do UBI, whatever it is, $5,000 a year in the US, $10,000 a year. You can do $20,000 a year. Shit, you can do $50,000 a year. Give every US citizen $50,000 a year. I would have zero problem with that. But what you have to say alongside of it is, we will not tax the rich for that money. We will just print it. If they remove taxes, we will lower all taxes. We will, well, just federal actually, because people can move states. There is still freedom of movement in America. Now, COVID is making that more challenging, freedom of movement within America. But there's still freedom of movement within America, and there are numerous tax-free states. So if the federal government comes out and says, we will eliminate all taxes, all federal taxes for people earning less than $100,000 a year, and we will then reduce all other federal taxes by 50%. But we will also put in a universal basic income of whatever number, 10,000, 5,000, 20,000, 25,000 a year, whatever you like. Where will this money come from? Well, we'll just print it. I have no problem with that whatsoever. My problem is stealing money from productive people of a society and handing it to the unproductive people. If you want to print money to hand it to the unproductive people, that's great. That's great. Print the money, give it to them, because the productive people have the opportunity to invest their money, and so that their money doesn't lose value on your stupid decisions of printing money. The problem that I have is the taxation to pay for universal basic income. I don't have a problem with the concept of a universal basic income. It's the taxation to fund it I have a problem with. Any other comments, thoughts? Oh man, I've already gone over an hour. Shit. Should stop. Oh, and the AML KYC laws would have to go. Those are just so there's two things I believe that will destroy America as a global superpower. Two things. One, fraud in the elections, if proven, that is a huge step to destroying your country, like destroying all global confidence in your country. And the second thing that I believe is destroying capitalism in America is AML KYC laws and restrictions on flow of wealth. So that combination of things, man, when I was doing this podcast a few years ago, I would have I thought that the US superpower still had, a decade or 2 decades. Not anymore. Not anymore. If fraud in the election is actually proven, And not even, who cares if the people in this country believe it? If people in other countries believe that America now has fraudulent elections, the US reign as a global superpower is over. It's just over. Like the moment people around the world think that the Chinese election is more honest than the US election, it's over. All right. I think that's good. I think we're going to call it a day, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. And I will see you all on the next one. Maybe later this week, we'll look at some stocks. All right. Thank you, guys. See you on the next one. Good luck trading. Oh, you know what? No, wait. I lied. I want to look at the price of Bitcoin before we close out. Hey, we're going up. We're going up. 1645. Wait, is that, how close are we to a new swing high? I have to go to the 1 hour chart. How close are we? I'm going to literally put this right at the high. Look at that. Shit. Kind of want to stick around. Crap. Almost there. What do we got? A few more dollars? What was the high? 889494. So 95. So we need 495. Yeah, 495. Sure, $50 away. And a few minutes ago, we had a high of 75. We were $20 away. So the high this hour was $20 away from a new swing high. I'm still bullish. In fact, I'm going to go open up my retirement account, see what's going on there. All right, now I'm done. Bye, guys.